In World War stories, Hitler is often remembered as the face of absolute evil. But when you dig deeper, you find a figure even more haunting. Not a politician, not a general, but a doctor. A cold, manipulative, twisted scientist obsessed with genetic fantasies, hungry for race power. He has the freedom in Auschwitz. His favorite specimens were twins. He collects eyes like trophies and turns human beings into living specimens. Josef Mengele doesn't want power. He wants chaotic experiments and plans a blasphemous creation of the master race. Life reshaped in his own godlike image, rewriting Genesis, crafting a master race from blood, bones, and suffering. But he died believing he never harmed anyone. At the start of the story, Josef Mengele grew up in Günzburg, Germany, with Karl Mengele, Warburger Teresa, and their children, Karl Jr. and Alois. He was born after 3 miscarriages. He was the first to be born. He's quiet, self-disciplined, and charming. It's said he hides his evil behind a charismatic persona. The real Josef is hidden. He covers it with his charming, swaggering, magnanimous side. He was polite, as if he was interested in you. He appeared eager to learn, to grow, to become something more. After high school, he gained acceptance into the medical and philosophy faculties at Munich University. There, he chose his path. He decided to become a doctor. But before he ever wore a white coat, he wore a steel helmet. In his first year of university, he joined Stahlhelm, a right-wing German paramilitary formed after World War I. They were not officially part of the Nazi Party at first, but they marched in the same direction: resentment and the dream of restoring Germany's pride. Josef fit into that world easily. He became fascinated with eugenics, the idea that a population could be improved through selective breeding. The Nazis believed in eugenics too. They were not patient breeders, they were executioners. Rather than cultivating the strong, they were determined to eliminate the weak. These beliefs did not repel the young Josef, he absorbed them. In 1935, he was awarded a PhD in anthropology. His thesis was entitled Racial Morphological Research on the lower jaw section of 4 racial groups. The paper was a racial bias and set out to prove that Germans were better human beings. And a year later, Josef graduated with a medical degree and became an assistant to Professor von Verschuller. Von became his mentor at the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Anthropology, Human Heredity and Eugenics in Berlin. The Kaiser Wilhelm Institute was one of Nazi Germany's leading research institutes for eugenics. Von gave Josef his scientific direction, his justification for his twin heredity experiment. He was the one who lit the spark. In May 1937, Josef officially joined the Nazi Party and became a member of the Nazi doctors, and later joined the SS, which was led by Heinrich Himmler. The SS had been created as Hitler's personal guard, but it expanded its role to the running of the concentration camps. The SS was an elite group that only allowed the best specimens of Aryan. They used the SS Race and Settlement main office as their polices. About the same time, Josef was engaged to his wife Irene Schonbein. But their marriage was a little problematic. While Josef was able to show his Aryan purity, Irina could not prove that her grandfather was 100% Aryan. Only the influence of his family smoothed the way for the wedding. Even after their marriage, Josef's family never truly accepted her. When the war began in 1939, Josef was rejected on the first draft because he had a kidney infection as a child. In June of 1940, Josef was finally called up, but he wasn't put in a combat position. He was placed in the Race and Resettlement Office. When Operation Barbarossa began, there was an urgent need for men to serve on the Eastern Front, so he was sent there. He proved himself on the front, winning the Iron Cross First Class, but he was taken off the front line due to serious injuries, and was sent to Auschwitz. After being sent to Auschwitz, he began his anthropological research, his dream job. At Auschwitz, Dr. Horst Schumann had been conducting sterilization experiments. Yet, Josef was to take the scope of his experiments to a new level. It was as if a chained dog had finally slipped free. eager, hungry, and unrestrained, ready to pursue his darkest ambitions. Auschwitz was selected as the venue for his work because of its out-of-the-ways location. He quickly participated in selecting inmates' fates to live or die. On that day alone, he sent 1,030 gypsies to the gas chamber. His face was emotionless, cold, nonchalant, and satisfied. He immediately created a special barracks for twin research, known as the Twin Block. He began his medical experiment, daily blood tests, anatomical measurements, photographs. He conducted every physical feature of his subjects. Then came his infamous disease experiments. He infected one twin with a disease and used the other as a comparison. He began sending body parts, blood samples, and medical data to his mentor Von at the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute. Von launched a twin and blood group project funded by the DFG. So you have a triangle. Josef from Auschwitz, Von runs the project, and DFG funds the lab. His cruelty didn't stop there. He built a collection of abnormal bodies. Giants, dwarves, people with heterochromia and severe physical deformities, desperate to uncover some supposed hereditary truth, rebelling against the moral order, committing blasphemy. This experiment wasn't with anesthesia. They felt every single pain. It is almost impossible to imagine the pain that the children went through, and most of them were aged 5 to 10. And despite his attempts to legitimize his work, there was no valid scientific rationale for any of these horrendous experiments. As time went on, Mengele became one of the most active doctors and reached the height of his power. The more control he gained, the less human he became. His influence grew, and so did the emptiness inside him, spreading like a disease. Yet he knew the war was a lost cause. The Russians would overrun the camp soon. In early January 1945, the SS began systematically destroying the remaining crematoria to hide the evidence, the experiment, and everything that happened in Auschwitz. And healthy prisoners began forced marches to new destinations. Josef continued his experiments until the last minute, but was busy shipping out all his equipment, documents, and reports. On January 17, Josef Mengele vanished like a ghost from Auschwitz. 10 days later, the Red Army liberated Auschwitz. They found a burnt-out factory with only a few thousand survivors with huge trauma. Mengele left Auschwitz to join the Gross Rosen camp, which was another camp in Lower Silesia. As the Red Army closed in on that camp, he ditched his Nazi uniform and went on the run. He then joins a Wehrmacht unit, disguising himself as a regular soldier, but was caught by the US troops. He gave them a fake identity. The Americans didn't recognize him because he didn't have the SS tattoo, and his name wasn't yet famous. And when they questioned him, he didn't flinch, unlike Himmler, who exposed himself. The Allies had no photo or fingerprints of him, so they sent him to one of the camps. In their presence, he behaved perfectly. He blended in so well, no one questioned him. After several weeks, he wasn't on any wanted lists and was freed. This psychopathic motherfucker walked freely. After the Americans unknowingly released him, he hid in Bavaria as a farmhand, but his real name began to appear on the wanted list. By 1948, he realized that he was on the most wanted list. His old SS colleagues advised him on one thing: get out of Europe immediately. He used the famous Rat Line, a secret underground escape route used by many high-ranking Nazis. These networks helped hundreds of Nazis escape to Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, Chile, Syria, and Egypt. In Genoa, Italy, Mengele obtained an International Red Cross passport with the fake name Helmut Gregor. With this one piece of paper, Mengele now had a valid identity, permission to travel, and a ticket out of Europe. From Genoa, he booked passage on a ship and departed for Buenos Aires, Argentina. He traveled openly as Helmut Gregor, and no one questioned him. After exile, Mengele felt safe. The president Juan Perón welcomed him. Perón's government admired European fascism and praised the Nazis as powerful, disciplined, anti-communist allies. Mengele established a comfortable life in Argentina. He found work as a carpenter and a trader. He was also a highly respected member of the local Nazi community. He even used his real name again. The Angel of Death lived openly in Buenos Aires, comfortable, confident, and completely free. But freedom only lasts as long as memory fades, and the memory of his victims had not grown silent. Some wounds demand vengeance, and Mossad was ready to answer. When Mossad kidnapped Adolf Eichmann in 1960, the news spread instantly through the German-Argentine community. Mengele knew he was next and fled Argentina within days. Mossad agents were already preparing to grab him. The plan was to seize both on the same operation. Mossad agent Zvi Aharoni admitted that, "We missed Mengele by a few hours or days." But when Mossad agents drove to Mengele's known address, he had already vanished. This is the closest Mossad ever came. Josef fled Argentina and resurfaced in Paraguay. Mossad agents followed rumors across borders, but dictator Alfredo Stroessner refused to cooperate. In Paraguay, Mengele felt safe again. Safe enough to obtain citizenship under his real name. But this time, a passport didn't protect him. It painted a target. As international pressure mounted, Paraguay faced diplomatic humiliation for harboring the Angel of Death. The government began to distance itself, while Israeli diplomats, spies, and informants quietly spread through the region. Files circulated, names were whispered, people began to say, "The doctor is here." Mengele hid in remote guest houses, stopped going to cafes, avoided German communities he once trusted. His world shrank, his paranoia grew sharper than ever. He knew how these stories end, he had seen it happen to others. And so, without a farewell or trace, he slipped across the border again, this time into Brazil, trading old allies for a deeper shadow. In Brazil, he first settled near Sao Paulo, then deeper into rural areas. He went back to false identities, shedding names like old skins. He disappeared so completely that no intelligence service was even sure he was in Brazil at all. He lived with the Stammer family, a German-Brazilian couple. They kept him hidden, provided food, and protected his identity. By the late 60s, he rarely left the house, lived with fear. The man who once strutted through Auschwitz with absolute confidence now lived like a hunted animal, jumping at shadows, moving from one safe house to the next. Even though Mossad had stopped hunting him, he constantly said, "Mossad will come for me." After leaving the Stemmer household, he moved to the Bossert family. In there, he helped around the farm. He insisted he never harmed anyone. "I was the victim." He felt no guilt, only fear. On February 7, 1979, while swimming at a beach, Josef Mengele suffered a stroke and drowned. The Angel of Death died not in a courtroom, but in the sea, and was buried under yet another false name, Wolfgang Gerard. For years, the world didn't even know he was dead. Then, in 1985, a West German special task force began to close in. They followed a paper trail of letters, whispered names from old SS networks, and finally tracked down the families who had hidden Mengele in Brazil. Under pressure, both families admitted the truth. The man they had sheltered was Josef Mengele. Investigators moved to the cemetery where he'd been buried under a false name and ordered the grave opened. The coffin was raised, the lid pried back. Inside were skeletonized remains. Forensic experts studied the bones in detail, the skull, the teeth, old injuries. Later, DNA tests were used to match the remains with samples from Mengele's family. The world's most wanted Nazi doctor had been dead since 1979. So the world's scariest, smartest, mysterious, evil, psychopathic motherfucker lived and died like a free man. If you want to know more about Josef Mengele's stories, you've got to check out the books. You can get any one of these on audiobook for $1.00 right now by signing up for a trial with Audible. Members get an audiobook each month, and if you cancel, you keep the audiobooks. You can even listen to Mein Kampf in the English version. All you have to do is sign up for the trial. The link will be in the description. Many thanks to the artists. All links are in the description below. This topic was chosen on the Discord servers. Thanks to all the members. Cheers.